Welcome back to Me to We Productions. And if this is your first time on this channel, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Tonight, we're going to get loud with Jami Hupp. She's from Columbus, Indiana. She's been a part of ROL now since about February. Thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate it. And the purpose of this channel is to get your voice out there so we can start breaking down this stigma and this shame of recovery and addiction alike. So let's get started, man. Let's talk about environment. I got to hear a little bit about your story. I know environment played a huge part of your childhood. So what happened?
So I was born into addiction, really. Both my parents were addicts, and pretty much everyone in my family besides my grandparents were addicts.
Well, I like the way you just said that. So you said you were kind of born into addiction. So really, you really didn't have much of a chance from the day you were conceived.
Right.
So I know you said your parents were addicts, and your grandparents.
Yes.
What was their influence in your life?
So they raised me. My mother lived in the house, but she was an addict, and she came and went as she pleased, and didn't really play a role in raising me. She was just kind of there and a friend sometimes, you know, when she was there, wanted to be, but my grandparents are the ones who raised me.
It amazes me just how important example is, especially in parenthood. You know, I think your grandparents, I know I've got to hear your story, and they raised you right. They're good people.
Yes.
But this is your influence.
Right.
This is who you're watching. You're
Right.
watching your parents.
Watching my parents.
You're watching your mom come in and out. So I think your grandparents, as good as they were, this is who you're going to model.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of made like a battle in my mind, because I was watching my parents, and I was, watching this behavior, but I knew, by the way my grandparents raised me, the better way to be. So it was always like a conflict.
So you had this great example of two different lives.
Yes.
So let's talk about the good life. Let's talk about your grandparents, and I know your grandfather, huge part in your life in this story. Great guy.
Yeah, he was. He was like my favorite human. Like, there was no one better than him. I spent all my time with him. Like after school, when he get home from work, we were outside. I couldn't have gotten any further up his butt, to be honest, than I was.
I know you said in our other talk that your grandfather, if he'd have stayed alive, you felt like you'd have got a lot more enabling.
Probably.
Things like that.
He was my grandpa, and
right.
That's how grandparents do. They want to give their grandkids, it's not like the parent role. The grandparent role is different than a parent role. They want to be able to spoil the grandkids and be the grandparent. So they were raising me at the same time, playing grandparent, spoiling me, giving me everything that I wanted. So, and my grandpa was the worst at it. So,
something I have found to be very parallel amongst a lot of addicts, people that use and trending the wrong ways, is our father figures. Seem to have some way either misled us, passed away, we lost them, something happened at the top. I see your grandfather being that person.
Yes.
What happened?
So he got lung cancer, passed away really fast. He was like fine, he was sick, died within 6 weeks. I was 11, 12 years old, and
6 weeks.
Yeah.
That had to be hard on you.
Yeah, it was fast. He was fine, and then it was over, so it was super fast, and it was hard.
So here you are, 11 years old, parents are addicts, you just lost your hero.
My hero.
What do you do?
I started running with the kids in my neighborhood, who were all older males, and smoking weed.
And I think it's important to know, where did these older males come from, or these people that you met?
Yeah, they were. So I grew up way out in the country, like on the edge of Brown County. So it wasn't like a small neighborhood, like a block of kids. Our block was 5 miles, around. It was just kids that were on my bus and that I knew from school, and that's just who was around and who I reached, who I reached out to.
Did your parents play any role in who you hung out with, the things you've seen?
Yes, so I knew kids in that area too, from my mom being friends with their parents. So the partying, the smoking weed, the drinking, the whatever you did was accepted by their parents just like they were mine.
I wanted to bring that up because
Yeah.
I know in my own story, as good as my parents were, something they did that I felt like was always something they shouldn't have done is they partied in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I lost my father too at 15. One of the first things I did was started reverting to the behaviors that I seen from them.
Right.
And I started drinking around 15, 16.
Mm-hmm.
But you, 11,
Mm-hmm.
here you are, you're smoking weed now.
Mm-hmm.
So pick it up.
So then I remember for a couple months, I just remember feeling like all I had in my head was, I'm not normal. There's something wrong with me.
Where do you think that thought came from?
I don't know if I was being really self-aware about what was going on inside me, and on top of hearing my grandma say, "You're not normal," just like not that I was doing regular kid things, but some things that you do are regular kid things.
Well, you're a kid, and I think when you're a kid, your brain is a sponge.
At 11,
and especially at 11 years old. So if somebody bigger than you or somebody you look up to is saying you're not normal,
right? And in my head, I'm thinking, of course I'm not normal.
Right.
And what is our normal in this house is mom running in and out doing whatever she wants to do, being in active addiction, and you all allowed that, and you want to tell me that I'm not normal.
Mm-hmm.
So
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was
a struggle.
It was a struggle.
Yeah.
So I remember finally I told my grandma, I went to her a few times, and I said, I'm telling you, there's something wrong with me. Like, I don't feel right. There's something wrong, something different in my brain. And I was sure of that. I was sure that something was different.
What anybody would do.
Takes me to
they
the doctor.
take you where?
To the doctor.
To the doctor.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the doctor. What did the doctor tell you at the young age of 13?
That you're depressed. You have anxiety.
So now you're not normal.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
You're 13 years old. You have no choice in this matter.
No.
And what's he do?
He says, here's some antidepressants and Klonopins.
Klonopins.
Mm-hmm.
Klonopins. At the age of 13 to a woman who was struggling, who is hurting, who has obvious addiction in her family. And we're going to prescribe her Klonopins.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
I think that was the beginning of
the end.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I think that in this epidemic, I think we're hearing a lot of this story. And I think it's important to talk about because a lot of times our doctors became our dealers.
Right.
And for you, you might not become a dealer, so to speak, but it was definitely the spark of your addiction.
It definitely was.
At 13 years old, you can't be handling that kind of mind altercation.
No. Not when I'm searching. I'm searching for what those do.
Right. And what did they do?
They numbed me, and that's exactly what I was looking. That's exactly. I didn't know that's what I was looking for, but it was. That's what I was looking for, and that's. I did. I fell in love with that feeling.
So you liked them.
I loved them.
And you knew it.
Mm-hmm. Right from the first week I had them, I was like, "Wow, I'm gonna take these forever."
That's powerful. At 13, you thought you had found your answer in a pill bottle.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about moving forward. You're prescribed these nerve pills. You're now smoking weed. You've lost your father. Yeah, you were born into addiction. What's next?
So the Klonopins progress to Xanax. After you're on them for a while, they'll up your dosage, up you to the next best thing. So started getting prescribed Xanax. A few of the other guys that I ran around with also got prescribed Oxys, Xanax.
And there's your common bond.
And there's our common bond.
Mm-hmm.
So we're selling them, taking them, getting rid of them to fund the next habit, which is cocaine.
So let's talk about this. So let's talk about your first time using cocaine. How did it happen? Why did you do it?
The first time I did, I just...
How old were you?
15.
You were 15.
Mm-hmm. I had seen white lines on coffee tables my whole life, and I thought, there's got to be something to it. Everyone, I've seen it on the coffee tables my whole life, that everyone...
We still going? We are still rolling. Okay. So you're...
Yeah. So I thought, there has to be something to these white lines on these coffee tables that I've seen my whole life in my household. Anytime I was with my mom or my dad or, anybody like that. So I was like, there has to be something to it. I'm going to try it.
And then, so you try the cocaine. You obviously you like this.
It.
You're 15. And there's a statement you made that I thought was pretty significant in your story. And you said you had this idea that you wanted to
do it better than my parents.
Where do you think that came from?
Well, so in the time that I started getting prescribed nerve pills and cocaine, my dad gets busted and goes to prison for manufacturing methamphetamine. And I remember being mad, but also at the same time, it was really weird. At the same time, I almost felt like cool because it happened with my crowd of friends.
So now if you feel cool, I equate that with feeling accepted.
Accepted. Right.
Do you think that's what it was?
That's what
really?
It was. They were like, she's okay to be in our crowd because she's
like
bad
us.
enough,
or bad enough,
okay. However.
And I think, looking, if I was to guess, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but looking back, to that acceptance probably felt good, because if you're being raised the way you were raised, I couldn't imagine acceptance really being there.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Right, it wasn't.
Yeah, and it wasn't.
No.
So now you found this crowd that's going to accept you. You're accepting this new feeling with the drugs, and I think suddenly we have a perfect storm.
Right. For sure.
So let's so moving forward here, when did it start getting out of control? Like, when did you start recognizing maybe you had a problem? Did something happen?
I got my license 16. My mom had gotten with a guy. I'd never seen my mom with like a boyfriend, not a significant other ever. She ends up moving in with him, and my grandma is getting remarried to a guy. So she's moving out of the house that me and my mom have both grown up in, and moving in with the guy that she marries, my grandmother is, and giving my mom our home to live with her significant other, who becomes my stepdad. And they have a child, which is my first sibling, when I'm 16 years old.
Okay.
I was getting ready for school, and I was to watch my brother while my mom took my stepdad to work, and he was a baby, and I'm getting ready for school. I'm still going to school at this time, driving myself, so sometimes I'm not going to school, but I leave the house every morning like I'm going to school. I'm living with my mom, where there's no rules, no responsibility, no accountability, just excuses and justifications for everything and everyone. Our house is like a swinging open door for anybody that wants to come in and use and hang out at all hours of the day, night, didn't matter.
Okay.
I'm watching my brother before school. He's a couple months old, and I lost him. I didn't know where he was. I didn't know where he went. I couldn't remember where I was getting ready for school. I was in there getting high.
So you just lost him.
Putting my makeup on, and I remember turning around thinking that he was in this little thing. He wasn't. I go and look in the crib. He wasn't.
And you truly had no idea.
No.
And this is because of your state of mind.
I forgot that my mom had taken him with her that morning.
That's a powerful little moment. So what did that do for you? That kind of start waking you up a little bit?
It just made me think, wow, this is not okay.
Right.
So, but my answer to that was just to stay away from home more, so that I didn't have to worry about losing him again.
Gotcha.
So
I know, so let's talk about your first experience with like rehab and how you ended up there, and because I think this is a pretty neat story.
Yeah, so then I start dealing cocaine and being the person at school that everyone knows as someone.
This is who you are. You have an identity
right,
now.
You can get drugs from. You can, that's who I was.
And you probably accepted that too.
And I accepted it, and I did, and that's where another time I thought, I'm going to do this better than
my parents.
My parents.
That's such a crazy thought, I mean, I just want to talk about that a little bit more,
silly.
because to think, but it's real.
It is.
It is so real, because I think that comes from resentments and anger. You weren't there for me. I see you doing this. screw it. I'm going to do this better than you did.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's awesome to point out again, but keep going.
So when I'm like 18, I get into a little mishap where my vehicle was used to rob a gas station. I have my first involvement with the law. Scared me not enough to do anything. I didn't end up getting in trouble for it because I didn't do it, but I was involved sort of in it. And my grandma comes to me and says, we've got an issue here. And she brings to me this rehab, an outdoor rehab that she found from Dr. Phil. It's out in Colorado.
Okay.
And at first I was like, no, I kept putting it off. She fills out all the paperwork, gets me accepted in. She tells me she's got the money. It was like $30,000. And then one day I'm down, low, broke, out of my pills, coke,
so you're out of resources, really.
A bad day.
Yeah.
And I say, I'm going to go. I don't have anything else to do. I'm just going to go. So I called them myself and I said, the rehab, and I said I'm ready to come, and they got me a plane ticket the next day, and I flew to Colorado.
So you get to go to this amazing Colorado rehab that's not your normal rehab building.
No.
Like when I think rehab like that, you're mentioning Dr. Phil. I even wrote Dr. Phil trying to get help. It's weird. I thought that was pretty ironic. But you go to this camp,
right,
out in Colorado, and what was so significant? Because I think when you went out there, like, I don't know, was you in the mindset that you wanted to recover, or were you doing this just because you felt like you had to?
I was doing it like in spite of what they wanted. Like, okay, it was a 4-month program.
Okay.
And it's in the middle of nowhere. You have nothing, I slept in a tent, like. So I thought...
You slept in a tent. This is a rehab.
Yes.
You slept in a tent.
I was outside the whole 4 months.
This is great.
Started fires, with like Castaway style. Cooked your food on a fire outside the whole time.
Okay.
No shower. You got to shower once a week, so pretty much no showers. Dirty, stinking. It was rough payment.
It's
all the way
a
to
rough
the floor.
rehab.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought, I'm going to go out here and do this, and then my grandma's going to feel bad that I came out here, and she's going to come and get me.
So that's your mindset. I'm going to go put myself through this hell.
Yeah.
They're going to feel bad and come rescue me. Okay, I got you. But something happens, right? Like, something ends up happening to your mind here.
Mm-hmm. I loved it. When it was time to come home, I didn't want to come home. It was more so halfway through, you get to come down for a weekend if somebody comes out to visit you. My mom and dad and brought my little brother to visit, and I could have came home. They would have brought me home, but I wanted to finish it because I had put so much into it, and it was changing me. It was like a soul searching. Finding out what I'm really made of, and I wanted to finish it, so I stayed the whole 4 months.
And this is a different mindset than you had prior, because that's not what you would have thought.
No.
So somewhere something shifted where, at this time I want to finish it.
I'm going to finish. I want to finish something. I want to be proud that I finished something that's worth
What do you think made you want to do that? Why did you want to finish something for once?
I think because no one thought I could, and I wanted my little brother to... He was just getting like of age, like 5, 6, and I was like, I want to be able to say, your sister went out here and did this and completed it. And I wanted to feel good about myself, like I completed it. Like I went out and did some hard shit, and I made it. So if I can do that, I can come home and get through some hard shit and make it too.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a phenomenal story, because even and the reason I think that's so significant is... Yeah, you didn't fully recover after this, but this probably was the start. This was an improvement. This was something that did better your life, and you did end up completing this program. Mm-hmm. And something I think is very fascinating about this rehab is, if you want to talk about humiliating and being humble and stripping you of everything, this rehab was great at it.
Yeah.
Like, you told me this story about... And I think it's good to talk about how humiliating it would be if you had to pee.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so you had to dig a hole.
You had to dig a hole.
You had to dig a hole.
In front of everybody.
In front of everybody. You
yes.
know what I mean? I was the only girl my 13 of the 15 weeks there. So, you know, and while you're behind the tarp peeing in your hole that you dug, you're out of sight from the staff members. So you have to shout your number. Everybody had a number, which depended on how close you were to going home.
And you had to say this number.
You had to keep saying that number every 2 seconds
so
that you were out of sight. Right.
I think that is I think that's wild. Because, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, that's mean. That's just horrible. But no, it's not. This is the kind of things we need to be taught.
Right.
Because I think when you realize how little you need in life, sometimes it just betters your life.
It does.
You know? So, I want to keep going here because I could talk on that all day.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. You know, that's one of the reasons why I travel and go to camping. I just like to strip myself of things and just remind myself, you know, how little I need in life. But so let's talk about you leaving that program because that's significant as well.
Right. So I come home.
Because at this point, I want to mention this too. Your actual drug that took you down, you have not done yet.
No.
Right.
So during all this time, I have a resentment and a hatred and would just talk shit about methamphetamine.
About meth.
Never did meth.
And
never going to do
why
meth.
did you hate meth so much? And, you know?
Probably because that's what my parents did.
So I think it's really obvious to see as we're talking here the resentment building up towards your parents.
Right. I related it like that drug is what caused all of. I put the. You know what I mean? The blame on that drug, not my parents.
Gotcha. So you're out.
I'm out. So and they kept telling me in rehab, when you go home, you've changed. Nothing at home has. They.
Such a good statement.
Couldn't have implanted it in my head.
Sometimes
even
they
more.
just know what they're talking about.
Right. Yeah. So I came home and of course nothing had changed here. You know. And I did stay clean for a while. And I never did touch cocaine again.
From that point?
From when I went to rehab, I never did touch cocaine again.
And that's a success.
It is a success.
That's improvement. Now, I mean, granted, meth becomes a part of your story, but still, I think that's good.
I do start using nerve pills again, though. I get back on the Xanax.
Okay.
Smoking pot.
And you managed what, like 8 months clean here of real sobriety?
Right.
Okay.
Then I started, using a little bit, and I never I never got really far deep into it. I just, started using those again. But then I meet a guy, and we moved to Florida, and.
Why did you move to Florida?
Well, he was on the run, to be honest.
Okay.
But we were in love.
Okay.
We were, and he was on the run, and I had family in Florida, and I was like, we're just gonna go. It was not an option to lose him to anything because we were both doing so well.
Gotcha.
And I was like, we'll just leave. So we decided one night we were gonna leave, and we left 4 hours later with all our stuff and moved to Florida and lived there for about 7-8 months.
Okay.
He gets arrested, gets extradited back.
He gets arrested for why he's on the for that reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And gets extradited back to New Mexico and is gone for a year.
Okay.
So I'm in Florida in an apartment we had a week. We finally got an apartment, we'd had it a week. Mm-hmm. And I come home and get my dad to go back to Florida to get my stuff so I can move back home. And I moved back here.
And so was that the last time you talked to him? Or?
No.
Okay.
No. When he came home, after he did a year, we got back together when he came home.
Okay.
But in that time, in that year that I moved home and was here, I started using meth.
That's when you started using meth?
Yeah.
And he was here?
No.
He was.
My boyfriend was in jail.
He was in jail.
I was back home with my mom, my dad.
Around that environment.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think you did that? Because I know you hated it.
I did.
You made promises to yourself.
Right.
Like you were,
I hated it the first time I used it. I hated the feeling.
That's so great. But then you do it the next day.
I do it because that's what was around. That was what was in my face.
I
was miserable. I was so heartbroken and miserable that I moved
Here
back
we
home.
go. Okay, now I'm starting to pick up on why. So you're back home. You're heartbroken.
I'm broke.
You're hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You loved this man.
Yes.
And meth just happened to be there for you.
That's what
when
was there
nothing
and
else
free.
was.
So.
And free.
Mm-hmm.
And you start doing it. When do you start liking it? Or did you ever?
I didn't.
Never did?
Never did. No, I didn't. I hated that feeling. I liked the opposite feeling, the Xanax.
Did you still do those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you think you were more of a benzo addict than a meth addict? Or do you think you were both?
I liked benzos more than meth. I called it a poison jumper.
Okay, that makes sense. I like that.
Yeah.
A poison jumper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, when does meth then become such a powerful part of your story and of who you were?
So the boyfriend is gone for a year. He comes back home. We get back together, get a place. I'm using meth, and he's begging me, don't go to your dad's, don't go get high, stay home.
Because he knows what that means when you go to your dad's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I eventually was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna get high.
Mm-hmm.
And so I waited for him for a year while I was getting high. Was excited when he moved home. We got a place, but I'm gone all the time getting high. And finally, I was like, I'm just gonna leave. This is what I want to do.
So, let's be real and raw.
Mm-hmm.
I know it can be hard sometimes, but in essence, you chose the
drugs
over him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I did. And then I'm gone like 6 months. I'm running the streets, dealing for my family. He calls me and says, hey, I'm going to move to Alabama. Do you want to go? I'm like, yes, I got a headlight out though we need to fix first.
Okay.
Go fix the headlight. I moved to Alabama. We'll live there for about 4 months. Clean, happy, everything's good.
So this is your second stint.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I come home to go to a cousin's graduation and start using again, and never went back to Alabama like I was supposed to. So I chose it again over him, over us.
And then that's, me going through addiction myself, I know what you're saying. I chose drugs over people that I loved all the time, but it didn't mean I didn't love them.
No.
I know it's ironic. It's hard for people to understand. It makes no sense, but we don't make sense sometimes,
No.
I know. So what happens, you come home, you don't go back.
Mm-hmm.
What ends up happening?
I end up getting pregnant by one of my parents' friends who cooked meth.
One of your parents' friends, older man?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's kind of what happens. You put yourself, get in that environment. And again, I see you. I feel like you were taken advantage of there.
Yeah.
But you've had 8 months worth of sobriety at this point. You had another 4 month stint.
Mm-hmm.
But every time you go back, it gets a little worse,
Right.
So I'm seeing it progress.
Mm-hmm.
And this time, you get pregnant by this man.
Mm-hmm.
How did that feel? How did you react to that?
It was horrible.
Horrible?
It was. It's supposed to be a good feeling when you're having a baby. It's supposed to be like a,
happy time of your life.
It was not. It was.
And I can see the pain in your eyes right now.
Like one of the lowest.
Yes.
I was ashamed. Like I never thought like, oh, he's a good guy, and he turned out not to be. It was.
Like
bad.
You knew this was not good.
Bad person. It was horrible, and I had gotten myself in a bad situation this time that I felt like, oh, I'm stuck forever now.
Especially when your heart belonged to somebody else, obviously.
Yeah.
So, and then this happens.
Mm-hmm.
Did he find out about this?
Yep.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And then?
Then he moves home. He moves back home from Alabama and starts using.
He started using?
Yeah.
Heroin?
Mm-hmm.
And
about not a year later, he dies of an overdose.
That's a very heavy and painful story, and I can see why that could cause you to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in my heart of hearts today, though, like if he knew you today, he'd be proud of you.
Right.
And I think that's important for you to understand. I'm sure you do. But so now that he dies of this heroin overdose, you're obviously left with your situation. You're still on meth.
Yeah.
You're pregnant by a meth dealer.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see a way out?
No.
No?
No.
Did you accept that this was going to be you for the rest of your life?
Yep.
I
had given up hope of anything. I'd always had in the back of my mind, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to come up out of this one day. This is just a phase. This is...
So this is when you truly became hopeless.
Hopeless. Mm-hmm.
And that's a dangerous state of mind, a dangerous place to get.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of addicts, a lot of us get there. I got there. Mm-hmm. So what happens then? Because if you're in a hopeless state, this is who you believe you are. You don't see a way out. I can only imagine you continue to just do this consistently, hating yourself,
hating myself,
hating all of it. Did you have a choice?
I did. Everyone has a choice. You have a choice. Everyone has a choice. Every second of every day, you have a choice.
I agree.
But I didn't feel like I did.
Right.
Because I'm not in my right state of mind.
No.
I'm just
it's
in this.
Funny how that is.
Yeah.
Like, so you're in that state of mind where you don't think you have a choice, therefore you don't act on your choice. Mm-hmm. What happens finally to give you that little light of, we can call it hope, or maybe a different thought, or maybe, you know what, I do have a choice. Something had to crack this.
So I ended up having 2 more kids.
Same guy, different guy, same guy. So this guy has fathered all your kids? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And every time I had a kid, though, there was a little bit of, I got to do more for them. You know what I mean? Okay. I owe them this. Their mom is more than this. Did
you still have that same heavy feeling every time you got pregnant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was worse, actually.
It got worse?
Because, like, what are you...
Like, why are you doing
this? What are you doing?
But yet, somehow, it was breeding this hope in you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's weird how this works. Life's crazy.
Yeah.
So, you're getting this little hope. Mm-hmm. Keep going. I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Well, not hope, but responsibility.
A little bit of something. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm living with my grandma. I'm doing the same thing that my mom did. I'm letting my grandma raise my kids while I'm running around, acting crazy, and having more kids. Mm-hmm. And
you're in a vicious cycle now.
I'm in a bad cycle.
This ball's rolling hard.
Mm-hmm. It ended up getting it was there was domestic violence, there was stalking, there was hostage situations. It was a bad deal.
A lot of bad circumstances.
Right, it was a bad deal. But my only person through all of this, who was an addict herself, but was more of a parent to me than I had ever had before, is my stepdad. Was always in the background, doing the parent thing when I would listen. He was the only one that could notice, hey, something's up, what's going on with you. Took the time to do anything with me. We did use together. We also lived life together, though. We went out and did things. He was my best friend, and he was the only person that would protect me when it came to my kids' father. Okay. Anytime I would run somewhere, don't let him in. I'm scared that my parents let him right in.
Right.
And he was a person I could go to, and I knew that he wouldn't he wouldn't let that happen.
And how'd that make you feel to have that kind of
thank God,
father figure in your life again?
Really? I just clung to it. Mm-hmm. He's been my stepdad since I was about 15, but when I got older, it was more he was my best friend. I needed. He
was your outlet.
Right.
Yeah, he was your vice.
Yes.
He was the person you went to.
My go-to for everything.
So thank God for him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I get out of the situation. I get out of the situation with my kids' dad. He goes to prison. That helped.
It helps a lot.
Yeah. Helped get out of that situation.
Right. Is he still there?
No.
Okay.
He's probably about to go back, but
okay.
He's not still there. Then 2 years ago, my stepdad gets in to involvement with the police and ends up getting shot by the police here in Columbus.
Oh.
And that's the first time in my life that I thought maybe I don't want to live this way anymore.
That was the first time after your stepdad
like
was...
a few hours after I found out what had
obviously
happened.
You remember that because it was a vivid thought. What do you think it was about that particular moment that started to crack your mind?
Because of where he was at in his mind, because of the drugs that he had gotten into so heavily. Like he had always used meth, but he was more of an alcoholic.
Okay.
He did use meth because he's in our home. That was what everyone in our home did.
That's what you did.
Right. But the last year he got into heroin. And that's really what took him down and put him in a mindset to make the decisions that he made to ultimately, not be here. And I thought, that's a low place. That's a really low place to be in your mind, to make a decision to where the cops shoot you.
Good point.
This is not what this is not.
So did you think you seen your life getting there, going that way? Like, okay, I just seen this happen to my stepfather. I'm definitely headed that way.
And I was lost. Like, I felt like somebody had pulled everything out from under me. Like, I didn't know my name. He was like my best friend, so hardcore that I was lost, and I just didn't know what else to do besides think different than what we had been thinking.
But obviously this still, if somebody got you thinking different.
It got me thinking.
Which is great. You needed that. But it definitely ain't what broke you wide open.
No.
So you can still kind of continue.
To use for a year.
Did you try to cut back or anything? Because some addicts would be like, oh, well, I'm going to control it. And you never tried that.
No.
But you did continue to go.
For another year.
Another year.
It was almost a year to the date.
From when he was shot?
When he was shot.
What happened?
I got arrested.
You got arrested?
With my oldest kid in the car, who was 6 at the time. Day after his birthday.
So the day after your birthday, your oldest watches mom get arrested. Is this when things started to get different?
Yes.
What was it about that situation that finally said, I got to do this?
So the jail was horrible. It was as bad as I ever expected it to be. But sitting in the cop car, and the cops let my kid sit in the back seat with me while they searched my car and found what they found, and I was like, Mommy's going to jail, and he had seen his dad go to jail.
You actually turned around and told him that?
Yeah.
Mommy's going to jail?
I said, buddy, Mommy's going to jail, but Grandma's going to come and get you.
That had to be tough.
Grandma's going to come get you, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And what bothered me the most is that he didn't seem to be bothered. Like, he wasn't...
It was becoming normal to him.
Right. He had seen his dad go to jail, being in the back of the car with, multiple times, and it wasn't a big deal to him. Like, he wasn't scared or anything, and I thought, when I said, Mommy's going to jail, but Grandma's going to come and get you, something in me...
Something cracked,
Something
didn't
is
it?
not okay.
You felt that.
Yeah.
Something in you said, this is not okay.
No.
And then you go to jail, and I'm sure you hear that clanks behind you, and you're sitting there, you're alone. This jail's horrible. Bartholomew County Jail?
Yes.
Same jail that changed my life, by the way.
Yeah.
And so explain that, man. Explain being in there, your thoughts, what's going on.
My head, I thought, well, of course I knew I caught a DCS case because I had my kid with me.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I don't die in here, I'm never going to get my kid, Not that I had acted like a mom, but for someone to threaten for me to not be able to be a mom, like them take that from me.
You know what I find amazing is I think there's a stigma out there that people feel like we just don't love our people.
Right.
And in your story, I'm hearing a lot different. Yes, you used, but you did love that man you went to Florida with. You did. And you also loved your kid enough that even though you admit, no, I'm not being the best mother, but it was this love for your kids that ultimately gets you going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important to state because we're still human beings. We are. And this love for your kid gets you doing what? You caught this DCS kid.
Yeah,
You're in jail. Obviously, you had that face-to-face where, like, Mommy's going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so this...
So, in jail, I just, I thought, if I get out of here, you know, and I don't have to move out of my house. I told the DCS worker, I said, I'll leave. Don't take my kids out of my grandma's home. Don't, you know, I'll not go home. I'll find somewhere to go, but don't take them out of their home.
So you're willing to do whatever it takes.
Right.
Just don't take
just
them
don't
away.
over my, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I made a mistake. Don't take it out on my kids. You know, I have a problem. That's obvious. You know, I'll do what I need to do, but don't take my kids out of their home. I told DC, you know, when the DCS worker came into the jail to talk to me that night, you know, he said, your grandma's got your kid. You know, this is what's happening, and you know, a lot of people I hear try to deny this, that, and I just looked at him and I said, I have a problem. I obviously have a problem, but don't take my kids out of their home. I'll do what I need to do.
Is that the first time you were like that?
I have a problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I said it. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Did that feel good?
Felt good.
Yeah.
Felt like, whew.
Like, whew, got that off my chest.
Yeah.
It is my
Not like
fault.
it wasn't obvious, but I have a problem. You know? And then...
So what do you do about it?
I get involved with Family Recovery Court.
Uh-huh.
Which
And this is in Bartholomew County?
Yeah, it's like a new problem-solving court.
Uh-huh.
And start IOP. And just made the choice that, like, when I was in jail, I made the choice. I said, I'm never coming back here. And I will earn my kids back. I don't even know what's going to happen with them yet. I don't even know if I've lost them or what's happened, but this won't ever happen again.
And I
will
love that.
not be here again.
That's the kind of mind, that's where we got to get to. Your bottom finally got you there to where you said, you know what, I have no idea how I'm going to do it.
No.
I really don't. I'm just going to do it.
But this won't happen again.
Yeah.
I'll never be here. I'll never be this low. I'll never be this broken. From here on out, it's only going to be building and growing, never breaking down again.
So how significant then? I mean, that's awesome. That's so good. Was this drug court? I mean, your recovery? And
yes, in my recovery. IOP helped, but the Family Recovery Court, it saved me. It really did, because you have to have some kind of support and people that believe in you and know that you can do it when you don't believe in yourself.
Listening to your story right now, you're talking about support and needing that support. From the day you were born, you didn't have no support.
Mm-mm.
You really didn't.
No.
Not the kind of support that you needed.
No.
So thank God when you decided to take some responsibility and make that hard decision. You know, you said it. I seen it. I'm not coming back to this jail.
No.
I'm getting my kids back.
Mm-hmm.
Those are hard decisions, no boundaries you're making. And you go out and you set on your way.
Mm-hmm.
And here's this drug court that's supporting you,
Right.
believing in you.
Mm-hmm.
You have this thought that I want to do this, and they're saying you can.
Mm-hmm.
You can. Monumental
Yes.
in recovery. Thank God. And I want to go ahead while we're here on this and to give a shout out to this drug court, because I know them and they are a phenomenal program. And the drug courts that I've been seeing across the state are great. And I think we're going to see more in this, more of this. But I don't want to take your story away. Keep going. And what it was, you said support?
Support. Really anything that you needed to help you out. They didn't want to make things, things are already hard. You're at your low, you know what I mean? And they just want to help you and figure out what we can do to help you and empower you to do what you need to do to get your kids back, which I did. I got my kids back in 6 months. I got them back. The case is over. And then I graduated the Family Recovery Court in 9 months.
In 9 months. So you got your kids back in 6 months. You graduated the program in 9 months. So for a normal person to get their kids back, how long would that usually take?
12 to 18.
12 to 18 months.
Which
You
is...
expedited that process because of this drug court supporting you, kind of advocating for you. What were some of the things that they did inside there that's unique to a drug court that, you know...
Well, they held you accountable.
Okay.
You know, you have to show up, you got to be honest, and you got to be trying your best. And as long as you're doing that, they're there for you. They work for you. And I utilize that. They always make jokes about me because the very first time I went into the Family Recovery Court, you know, I'm pissed. I have my doubts about this working.
Because we always do.
Right. I'm a couple weeks clean, you know. I'm like, whatever, I'll do whatever they're saying, but that's not going to get my kids back any faster. They're, you know, they're full of crap. They don't care about me, you know, this poor me attitude, you know. And the very first time I went in there, they're introducing themselves and they're announcing how it works, and I'm like, that's fine. What you all work for me, and this is what I need. I need a new case manager because mine's not getting on their job. I'm waiting on referrals for IOP. And, you know, and they're like, okay. Just met me, and they're like, you want a new case manager? Okay.
So they met you where you were at. Right where you're at.
This is what I need.
So how'd that feel?
At first I was like, whoa. And I was like, yeah. You know, that's what I said. You know?
So they kind of deflated your ego just by meeting you where you're at. Yeah, absolutely. I think, so how long have you been clean now?
Over a year. My clean date was October 11th.
October, so it just happened?
Right.
Absolutely. So, congratulations, by the way. That
months.
is such a good milestone. It's something that's needed. We need more and more and more of that. What is your foundation of recovery today? Like, do you have things that you got to do on a daily basis that keeps Jami clean, keeps you going in the right direction? What would that be?
Being self-aware is the biggest advice or biggest thing that I do. I am self-aware at all times about what's going on with me in my head, at any situation. Just little things at home, even when it comes to my kids. I'm like, if this is a thought how I used to think, we're not doing that. We're not going there. You know, I made a conscious effort to change everything that I did, like the way I sleep. Everything that I do is different. I lay my legs different, and I remember my first few weeks being clean, I thought that in my head. I thought, I'm not going to lay my right leg on top of my left leg anymore because I've done that my whole life, so I'm not going to do it that way anymore.
And that makes so much sense. Like, if you want to be somebody different,
then you need to do different things.
You got to do different things. And in my own story, exact same thing. Man, I started just making my bed and brushing my teeth on a regular,
right?
Just because I didn't then. I just knew I had to be different. And obviously today, that's kind of what you do. You know, so explain self-awareness. A lot of people might not understand exactly what that is.
I just think, what am I thinking? How am I feeling at this time? And then why? Like, what's the real reason why? Because a lot of times when you feel a certain way or you're acting, you know, it's because of a situation. You're reacting to a situation that's happening, or a circumstance, and that's not really why. I don't feel like that's not really why it's what's happening. It's what's happened before in your life, what you know already, how your brain is trained is why you're feeling a certain type of way. So being able to pick that out, you know, and sort it out and figure out what the real reason is of why I'm feeling a certain way is how you know, overcome what's going on in your head, which is it's all a mental game.
Such good stuff, man, because it is. It's all in your head. I love the way you're breaking it down and putting it down. I think that is something that kind of evolves over time. So I don't think you got that immediately.
No, it takes practice.
It takes practice. And I think that's important to state, too, because I know in the beginning it was probably hard, your first 2 months, 3 months, whatever. But now here you are, a year clean. You got this foundation. It's working for you. I love the way you say you ask yourself why.
Right.
Like, why? Great question to be asking yourself. What impact do you hope your story has on the recovery world, on the addiction world, and what stigmas do you hope it breaks?
I just want anyone that's still in it just to know, like, however low or hopeless that you feel, there is, you know what I mean, whatever, like, if it's a bird flying by on a bad day and you're like, well, that'd be cool to fly, be that bird, grab onto that feeling, you know, grab onto any feeling of good, anything that makes you feel an inkling of good, grab onto it and, you know, chase that feeling and do more of it and believe that there is hope, because there is. And you don't have to be who you were meant, born to be. You don't have to be that person. You can create yourself to be someone new at any time, no matter what's happened.
Is there anything else you wish to say?
I just want to thank ROL because I've been coming since February, so I had about 4 months clean or 5, somewhere around there. It was in the beginning, and I wouldn't have been able to sustain it for sure if I hadn't have found ROL. I was getting out of IOP and I was having a bunch of free time, so I didn't know what to do with my free time. I just needed the connection with other people because your people, places, things, and to feel empowered and like you're important, and and you all did that for me, and I'm glad that I found you guys when I did.
I think I'm glad you brought that up. It's about Miss Dat. What has ROL been able to really do for you to sustain the long term? I don't think, because short term it was drug court and the jail, but I see ROL being more long term and getting you, years clean, multiple years clean. Why ROL?
The connections that I've made and being, having the same ideas and being around like-minded people that want the same thing and that want to help more people. I want to help people. I want to help people get out of the dark too. And I think your all's idea, I'm all for it, and I want to, that's what I want to. So us thinking the same way, like-minded people, and just wanting better for our lives and the connections.
Well, I promise you right now, you are doing that. You are giving other people hope. You are spreading hope. You're doing a great job. I know I'm proud of you. I know Megan's proud of you. And guys, I hope you just listened to this interview and really took it to heart. This is a person that was not born this way. She was born into addiction, and at the age of 13 was prescribed Xanax and Klonopin because they told her she was bipolar, depressed, and had anxiety. I don't think a 13-year-old should ever be told these things. So to see you here today as a recovered woman, but all that you went through, I am so, so proud of you. She has a year clean, and you can do it too. And if you wish to be on this broadcast, please get a hold of me, and we will get you on there. And until next time, remember, shame can only thrive in secrecy. And the moment you speak aloud upon it, it will lose its power.